Our next candidate up we have is Sean Roberts. Sean's on the line. Representative Roberts is a small business owner from Hominy, Oklahoma. He's been a member of the State House of Representatives for the last 12 years, where Representative Roberts chaired committees including public health and county and municipal government committees. So Representative, thanks for being here. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
You bet. So I want to start out with this first question for you as well. So you are running for commissioner because, finish that sentence for me.
Well, there's some people came to me last fall, or sorry, in the spring, and asked me to run, and we prayed about it, and we looked into what's going on currently in the Labor Commission in the department, and we decided to run. One thing I really noticed talking to the widow of the previous commissioner, there's some programs that aren't being pushed that could be pushed, especially that will help save lives. And I think that's where, if you interact with businesses more, you can help with things like the SHARP program and expand those and improve safety in the workplace.
So
the other thing is,
go ahead, finish up.
The other thing is I think it's important that we have somebody that's going to support our governor, and that's why Stitz endorsed me. The current commissioner has not been very supportive of Governor Stitt, and that's one thing I'm going to make sure we do, because his vision of making us a top 10 state is a great vision. Promoting business, what we've done in the last couple of years is incredible at the state level, trying to make sure our tax structure is improving and that we make it a business-friendly environment so we can be in the top 10.
Appreciate that. So aside from some of the really well-known functions of labor commissioners that maybe everyday Oklahomans and people on this call would know, which are, we all know they inspect elevators because we see their certificates. We know they inspect carnival rides because that always makes a lot of news. Highlight for us some of the other responsibilities the labor commissioner performs that our members may not know about.
Okay. So there's occupational licenses. I'm a licensed physical therapist, so I understand the importance of licensing and how that works. It's a little bit different because it's professional versus the occupational, but at the same time, it's very important to our state to have those occupational licenses in place, mainly for the public safety that comes along with those. So you have like fire alarms and sprinklers and asbestos abatement, things like that. One of the big things that probably some of y'all know, obviously, what I just talked about is the health and safety factor. With my background in healthcare, it will really come to play. I worked at UPS for 10 years and management part-time, working my way through school. And it was a big factor at UPS, making sure that the employees are safe. It mainly cut down on workers' comp claims and just the general welfare of your employees and insurance costs.
Let me give you another question. So if you were given the task of a rebrand of the Department of Labor, what would the headline of the press release be for the rebrand of the Department of Labor?
Well, I think that the rebrand, if we were to do something like that, this is coming off the spot here.
Yeah, no,
really
that's what it's supposed to do. I'm supposed to catch you on the spot. But what would you say you want to communicate? We're going to do X differently, or this is what it does. What would that look like?
We're going to work closely with the governor and businesses across the state to really promote safety and promote labor, working with local schools, making sure that we have the labor force that we need in the future, making sure that everyone makes it home safe to their families at the end of the day. So those are the big things. Mainly promoting business, kind of goes back to the top 10 state, making us as pro-business as we can be. But at the same time, working on safety and not making the department where it's intrusive or making it difficult for businesses to operate, but working hand in hand and moving us forward in that direction. So whatever I can do, and that's kind of what I've always looked at as a state rep. How can I help my constituents? Same thing with my patients. How can I help them at the end of the day? And that's been my management style, whether it was at UPS or my own business that we have, really being more of a servant to my employees to make sure that they have the skills and have the knowledge and to basically do the job to the best of their ability.
That's a good answer. So wanted to kind of dig into the workforce issues. So just so you know, for 2 years running, we have polled business leaders from around the state. And we're going to do it every year, and it helps drive our agenda. And at the top of the list, Sean, not even a close second, is workforce issues. I mean, it's not even a close second of the biggest threats to businesses in Oklahoma, to them growing, to their success. So help me understand, and our members in the audience understand, what can the Oklahoma Department of Labor do to help the business community with the workforce shortage issue?
Well, researching this from across the entire country, there's a workforce shortage across the entire country. So it's not just Oklahoma, and that's our biggest obstacle. It's not like we can go and recruit from other states sometimes, and sometimes we don't want those certain individuals from like California. We'll there. But if they're in the right party and have the same ideologies, that's great. But anyway, what can we do to help with that? I think starting early at the education level and guiding them to and that's why Ryan Walters will be important to have with this pipeline, preparing our future so we can get the kids in the classes that they need to be in, whether it's welding or whatever it may be. The other thing is we maybe want to look at our tax structure and make it where it's friendly for people who want to move here. I was talking to somebody not too long ago from another state, and they just graduated, and I said, well, why don't you move to Oklahoma? They're about to open up this plant that is right in your degree area. And they said, no, we have an income tax. They would move to Texas or Tennessee, but they would not come to Oklahoma just because of where we are there. So there's factors that some individuals look at. Now, it's not all of them, but it's things that we need to explore and look at and maybe try to change to improve us. So we're not only a business friendly state, but make it attractive to employees so we can get those people here.
Yeah, fantastic. I keep thinking there are more ways that we can work with Department of Labor on some of those issues. And so, would love to explore those with you if the outcome is successful in your favor, because I just think it needs to be all hands on deck. And I agree that we don't have time for anyone to sit on the sidelines. We got to get engaged in those issues. And you're right, it is a national problem, but we can do more to get our people prepared for the workforce. And again, it kind of dovetails nicely with what you mentioned about Secretary Walters, his mindset as well. So, yeah. One of the questions I have, so and this is as a appropriator and legislator, this will be really hard for you to answer, but if you had an unlimited department at the Department of Labor, unlimited budget, what would be the innovation that you would want to create right away at the Department of Labor? If money wasn't an object, and I know you're a legislator and you're a fiscal conservative, so let's suspend that belief for a minute. What would be the one thing that you would say, we got to spend our money on this right away because it's the most impactful?
I think it's the most impactful thing. This is a tough one. So it would probably be spending more money for reaching out to businesses, mainly letting them know what's available as far as the Sharps program or any of those other programs, and then spend more time with businesses to see what the labor department could impact the most with the business. It's mainly going back to the beginning of having a servant mentality and how can we help you? Improving customer service. Those are so critical. Working hand in hand with businesses. If there's something we can do that will remove red tape or make it easier for a business to operate, to hire employees, to make the workplace safer, that's what we need to focus on.
Yeah, kind of let me dovetail on that. So what's the one thing that the Department of Labor doesn't do now that you think it should be doing? Like, what's the top of your list there? As you've been exploring the office and talking to people, what's the one thing that they should be doing that they're not?
A couple of things. On the campaign trail, I've had a lot of people talk to me about they've reached out for wage disputes that were not resolved and they had to go to court. So that goes back to the customer service side, making sure that there's follow through when a constituent reaches out and needs help with an issue. Another thing, from what reports I got, the labor department was shut down for 2 years because of COVID, and they just opened up more recently because they were working from distance learning. I think it's important that we have the staff in the building working with customers, basically the public, to give them what they need. There's so many other things that we could work on, but just really going back to the customer service side and being the servant mentality that so many other people in government seem to not have at this time, and changing the focus of how can we serve and improve Oklahoma to make it the best state that we could possibly make it.
Yeah, I agree with that. So kind of wrap up with a last question here. So your time in the legislature, you've been a public servant for a while now, and you've been able to have a really broad kind of exposure to a lot of issues. You know, what is the experience that you're taking away from your time in service to the House? What's the lessons that you've learned there that are going to translate really well, or would translate really well into running the Department of Labor? Kind of let you wrap it up with that.
Okay. Wow, I could be here all day on this one. So I have learned a lot over the 12 years. Personal interactions, what the people of Oklahoma really want compared to what sometimes they are pushed at the state level. And sometimes they get in that bubble and they forget what they ran for, or what they said they were going to do. And we sometimes lose focus on the mission of what we're trying to do, because we listen to one group or another group. And that's why it's so important that if you do something, and I told a group this a couple of weeks ago, if you're going to do something that's going to impact another group, it's important to listen to them, whether you agree with them or not. Getting that other perspective, maybe you see something that you didn't know, and maybe they're looking at it from a different angle, and just being open to other points of view and not be rigid and have a dogmatic point of view as far as this is what we're going to do and there's no way to change it. And I try to do that, especially as I grew and got to the end. Try to do that with any bill, no matter what it was. And we made changes to bills along the way. And that's why I started telling people, this is the purpose of the bill. That there is something in it that we can change where it gets you on board, and we still get to the main point of the bill. Then let's do that. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to make it a better place to live for all of us. And that's what it's going to take, is all of us coming together. But the most important thing is listening and trying to get out there and meet. And that's so hard. Chad, you know this. Whenever you're dealing with 20 different things at once, and there's 100 bills on the agenda, and you may miss one. And that's why I did really well with Read Score this year, because I had a little bit more time to focus on, okay, what does the chamber want this year, and how can I make sure we are doing what we can make this state a pro-business state, and focusing more on that. At the same time, making sure I don't compromise what I told my constituents at the time that I was going to do when I ran, because I try to stay outside the bubble and represent the people as best as I could. And I wasn't perfect along the way. I made votes that I probably shouldn't have, but looking back, there's some times where I know if I voted on the information that I had at the time. And so moving forward and looking in the future, I'll have more time to reach out to especially business owners and people within the chamber, and working together to make it where if the labor department can help you, that's what we're going to do.
Perfect. That's a perfect. I mean, we just nailed the timing. So, hey, Sean, I really appreciate. Be more formal, Representative. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your time. And again, thank you for your service in the legislature, and to all our candidates, thank you for being willing to step up and run. Public service is a noble calling, and appreciate you being willing to do it. And thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Good to see you.